Donald Trump says America built the oil industry in Venezuela, which then stole it through force from the US. And after seizing President Maduro, he wants US companies to rebuild oil infrastructure there. But is his claim about stolen oil correct? Well, here is the context. Oil was discovered in Venezuela in 1922. General Juan Vicente Gomez, the country's military dictator, granted oil concessions to overseas companies. These concessions didn't mean these companies owned the oil under Venezuelan territory, but it gave them the valuable right to pump it and to sell it for a fixed period of time. And they had to pay a 15% share of the revenues from oil sales to the Venezuelan government. By 1935, almost all Venezuelan oil production was controlled by three companies through these concessions: the Anglo-Dutch Shell and two American oil companies, Standard Oil and Gulf Oil. In 1976, the Venezuelan government nationalized the industry, effectively revoking these concessions to foreign oil companies. The Venezuelan state oil company took over control of exploration, production and exports. Bear in mind that this was a period in which other major oil-producing states, including Saudi Arabia, were doing similar things and passing laws to enable them to do so. And around $1 billion in compensation was agreed for the US oil companies which lost their concessions, including Exxon, Mobil and Gulf Oil, which later became Chevron. Also, US companies continued to be involved in producing Venezuelan oil, just not under a concession basis, which critics said had been too generous to overseas oil companies and shortchanged the majority of the Venezuelan people. American oil companies, including ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips, still owned valuable contracts in the country, and their investments grew substantially over the 1990s. In 2007, the former Venezuelan president Hugo Chavez controversially exerted much further state control over these remaining foreign-owned assets. The Venezuelan government was subsequently required to pay compensation to US oil companies by a World Bank tribunal. Venezuela has been hit by US sanctions, which it says has impeded its ability to pump and sell sufficient quantities of its oil to make such payments. Though experts say Venezuelan government mismanagement and corruption and the retreat of foreign expertise and investment from the country have also contributed to this collapse in production. Venezuelan oil production in 2024 was below 1 million barrels a day. As recently as 2005, before the Chavez nationalizations, it was above 3 million barrels a day. So, at least one US oil company does have outstanding compensation, which is owed to it by Venezuela. Yet the claim the country has stolen American oil is too simplistic. As experts say, the oil itself was never actually owned by anyone except Venezuela.